4, 3. Goodbye.
We'll now call to order the meeting of the Winter City Council, Tuesday, January 7th. Tracy, can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Anderson,
Here.
Councilmember Lauren. Here. Councilmember New.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Callen,
Here.
Mayor Biazzi.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Meyer, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please? Sure.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
Mayor and Council, no changes.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
A motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, passes unanimously. Next up, we have council and staff comments. Councilmember Lauren.
All right, December 18th, I helped the Winter Senior Foundation fill their Santa bags. December 19th, I attended the League of Cities webinar on financing for rural projects. I also attended the City of Winters holiday party. January 4th, I attended the Democracy Winners meeting to hear a robust presentation by Chief John Miller. I was happy to be there. January 6th, I met with the city manager, John Donlevy, to discuss tonight's agenda. And last night, the Hispanic Advisory Committee had their first meeting of the year, and we had a presentation on the census. The census will be rolling out in March, and everybody should make sure that they do the census. There's only 9 questions. They're very simple, and you could do it by mail, by phone, or online, and it's translated in many languages. And today I attended the groundbreaking of the Marriott Fairfield Inn, along with a lot of people in this room. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Been to too many meetings over the holiday break. We didn't have a chance to chat with city manager one day. When she had been home. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember New. On December 19th, I attended the SACOG meeting. On the 1st of January 3rd, I met with the swimming pool group that is trying to find ways to keep the pool open year round. On the 7th, today I met with our city manager in the morning. At 11 o'clock, I had a phone meeting with the Old County Housing, and now I am here. And other than that, the only thing I did was take my relatives that all came to tour the hotel and the museum. And that's it. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Callen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On the 18th, I attended a youth day meeting, and yesterday I met with the city manager, and today I also attended the groundbreaking for the hotel out at the freeway.
Oh.
Yeah, you were.
I'm there. Thank you. I also had a pretty quiet break. I attended the city holiday party on the 19th of December, as well as the holiday mixer at Hotel Winners. And on the 6th, I met with the city manager for agenda review and was at the groundbreaking for the Marriott Fairfield Inn today. I'm looking forward to the construction starting real soon, and it sounds like they have everything lined up, so. Yeah. A new hotel coming soon. So thank you all for your time spent, your committee assignments. Next up, we have public comment on anything that is not on tonight's listed agenda. This is your chance to come forward. We have sheets in the back. I have one that was turned in by Ms. Tina Loudon.
Tina Loudon, 320 Neiman Street. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year's. We're going to have perfect vision in 2020. Can you get the joke?
Got it.
Okay, thank you. My husband and I went to Oakland this weekend, and we saw all the graffiti and the homeless and the garbage and everything in Oakland. We then drove back to Winters, and we said, oh, thank God we don't have this, but we do. It's really sad to see all the graffiti in a new bridge. It really is sad. I don't know what we have in maintenance or anything. I have no idea. But it's really sad. It would be nice to get a bunch of people together and get it cleaned up. And I did notice that there was some tents on Puda Creek. So just want the city council to be aware that there are some of us citizens that are very aware of everything that's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak on a non-agendized item tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Mayor and Council, just a couple of items. Item A are the minutes from the regular meeting on December 17th, 2019. Item B is the second reading and the adoption of ordinance 2019-05 regarding the PD overlay and the subdivision that surrounds the LDS Church on Henderson Street. Item C is a switch in the appointments for the Yolo County Transportation Board. And then items D and E are two claims that have been filed against the city, and that's the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you. I don't think anybody has conflicts with anything on the consent calendar. Any questions?
I'd like to approve the consent calendar for our organization.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Up next, we have a presentation, recognition of Winters Police Department Chaplain Robert Duvall and K-9 Kepi. They're recipients of the First Responders of the Year for Los Angeles Napa area. Kaiser Permanente's First Responder Appreciation Ceremony. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city manager, members of the public. So it's my pleasure, well, I don't need to really introduce K-9 Kepi, everyone knows Kepi. The guy on the other side of the leash, that's Chaplain Robert Duvall. Chaplain Robert Duvall and K-9 Kepi were recognized in November by Kaiser Permanente as the First Responders of the Year for 2019. Winters Police Department is very proud to sponsor such a unique program. We are the first law enforcement agency in the United States to sponsor such an agency. It began in 2015 for my tenure here, and we've actually supported it. I don't want to take any of Robert's thunder. He has plenty to tell you about the program and where it's going, and it's really catching on nationwide.
Thanks, Chief.
All right.
Well, I want to thank the city for sponsoring this. When I created this program, it was primarily out of a need that our first responders do need, that mental health and assistance for all the traumas. So we've been doing this since 2015, and I just want to go over a couple of quick things so you guys are kind of aware of what we've been up to. Last year, 2019, Kepi and I provided 2,160 hours volunteer time to both Yolo and Solano counties. We handle agencies from both counties. We provided 82 death notifications, 57 special events. We were activated by Kaiser's trauma unit 24 times, and then did additional visits at the hospital 61 times. Allied agency visits 110. We also did debriefs for critical incidents 6 different times, and then about 40 to 50 one-on-one counseling sessions with first responders from agencies from not just Yolo and Solano, but other counties that requested us. In May, our engine went out on our patrol car, and without having to use any city funding, I was able, with Facebook and other means, to raise the funds ourselves to get a replacement engine and have it installed. So that was about $4,000 of donated money from our citizens. January, as we all know, started out with the worst call that any of us could get. I was actually on duty here in town when Officer Garner was shot and killed, and I responded immediately to that scene. And I spent several days and even weeks working with officers from that agency, some as groups, some as one-on-ones. Positive things, also though, in July, Kepi and I were invited to go to Kansas City to the International Conference of Police Chaplains, where we presented this program to over 2,000 agencies from the United States, Canada, the UK, and the Philippines, all of which had never heard of anything like this before. And in the meantime, I sent about 250 packets with how this program started. Yeah, where you going? And then also too, we're still being contracted by CAL FIRE, and we did 8 days on the Kincaid fires most recently. For highlights in town, and if there's a special event, we're usually at, including all the every 15 minutes, movie night, coffee with the cops, Cinco de Mayo, 4th of July, Carnitas. We were even out here on extra patrol when we had the blackout during the windstorms, and ended that with the traffic parade. So again, I'm very appreciative of what the city offers. I'm always proud to represent our city, no matter where we go. And I want to thank you guys for continuing to support us.
Also, and at a personal note, Robert's also available to us personally. My cousin was a victim of a violent crime in the city of San Francisco. And with their victim services being what they are, I reached out to Robert to contact my cousin and talk to him since he was going through his the post-traumatic stress of being a victim. So I sincerely appreciate that. So.
Maybe just a couple of points. Since Robert's joined our team, it's almost unfathomable to understand what we did before he was here, which was basically nothing. Robert has been with us, over the past, almost 10 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Feels like 10.
In a couple of things that have come up that have just been unmentionable. One of the things that those of us who have our public safety personnel, we know that PTSD is a real thing. And Robert has done amazing things with dealing with our staff. One thing that about our first responders, not everybody makes it in this career. It really is a difficult business to be in. I always talk about the fact that many of our folks deal with people in the worst moments of their life. Our 911 operators, our firefighters, and our police officers. And Robert, in so many ways, not only deals with the victims, but he also deals with those who have been there. And some of the stuff is not great. It is just, and I've seen Robert in action on some things that would just have spun our head as far as the incident that they were dealing with. And his professionalism, his acumen. Now that we've got K9 Kepi, we know who the person that's really freaking out is. But they've gone, he's represented us just in the past 12 months, the Camp Fire, helping the folks at Davis PD dealing with the murder of Natalie Corona. The various incidents that we've been on. A text or a knock on the door from Robert in the middle of the night is typically not really great news. Matter of fact, for some people, it's the worst news that they will ever get in their lives. And Robert is there. And for him to be recognized by Kaiser is an understatement. He's the hero of the heroes. He's the guy who goes out, and our staff do amazing things. They save lives. But after that adrenaline stops, there sometimes needs to be somebody to talk them down from whatever incident they were at. And Robert has certainly been that guy. And lots of appreciation. He's put us now on the national map, speaking and we would like to say that Robert's a celebrity, but I think Kepi's probably the celebrity for at least all the kids. But an amazing job, and I can tell you from where I sit, I tell folks that what's the toughest thing about being a city manager? It's the fear every single night of the staff that are out on the street. I tell folks that I've got all these employees that we give guns to, and go out and they're supposed to keep us safe, and they do. And, you know, Robert being on our team has been that one aspect that, you know, that even if the worst things go down, you know, you've got a certain area covered on things. And it's with the utmost amount of appreciation that we have for what he's brought to our team. And, you know, sincerely, Robert, congratulations on this thing with Kaiser. From the region, he and Kepi were selected as, did they give you a big medallion or
They gave
something?
Kepi some bling, and I got a little plaque.
Good. Okay, so Kepi got a new dog collar. So, anyway.
Well, I gotta say, 2,160 hours, for those of you that can't do the math, that's 41 and a half hours a week. So that's pretty impressive for a part-time volunteer.
We're under demand.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say, you know, as the city manager explained, your job is one of the toughest jobs there is out there, to break tough news to people and to be there to comfort them in hard times. So we're very blessed and honored to have you serving our community, as well as Kepi. I know a lot of us on the council have dogs, but to have a service dog like this that you can take with you, and it really brings a lot of comfort to people in their time of need. So we really appreciate what you've done. Thank you so much.
Let the dog speak.
You're very loud, right? You must be.
Come on.
Go ahead, it's okay. Speak. Speak. Thank you.
On to,
Can I take a picture of him?
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Send it to the paper.
Over here.
Come on,
Right
Kathy.
Can Kepi smile?
Kepi, you.
Turn around.
Camera shot.
You stay.
Smile, Kathy. Thank you.
Good girl, let's go.
All right, we'll now move on to discussion item number 1, which is the June 30th, 2019 AB 1600 report on impact fees.
Good evening, council. Before you tonight, I have the June 30th, 2019 AB 1600 report of impact fees. We're just asking the city council to receive the report and make any comments. The council, or the city of Winters currently administers 9 impact fee funds. They're collected under Government Code 66006. The code also requires that we submit an annual report detailing the status of the impact fees collected, make it available to the public within 180 days of the close of the fiscal year. And then once that's been published to the public, then we bring it to the city council after 15 days. The report was posted on the city website on 12/2019 and emailed out to individuals requesting information is posted. The report contains information on the last 14 years. The information for each impact fee contains the collection of impact fees for the Nexus study and the adopted impact fee schedule, interest included on cash balances held on account, and expenditures of those funds by project. There's also information included on how on what the impact fees on hand are going to be spent on, and if we have a time frame for spending those funds. So we have a brief discussion of each fund. If you're interested in going through those one by one, basically we have collected fees and expended them for various projects, and all the projects are listed. We also list the amount of impact fee that we collect based on the current impact fee schedule. That fee schedule was adopted and put into place January 1st of 2019. So I'm not sure how much detail you'd like me to go into on this. there's a lot of information here and
Yes, it
detail, I
is.
think would lose everybody.
You're right.
But you can kind of read through it and get the gist of what we've collected and what we've expended the funding on. And, you know, there's a lot of the funds that it looks like there's, 100,000 or so in the fund balances. But when you stop and think about the projects that are on the project list, that means we still need to continue to collect more funds because there's just not enough money there to do the projects that we need to get done. When we're talking about parks and streetlights and sewer lift stations and sewer ponds and water pumps and landfills and things like that, we're talking millions upon millions of dollars, and we don't have that collected yet. I will say that we have expended a lot of park money, and we're still collecting park money now, but we spent a lot of the park money on the Cedar Creek Trail. We actually spent all the park money. We also expended all the street money that we had on hand to do traffic signals, particularly the one at Main and Grant over here. So as the money comes in, we are spending it. But when we had the huge lack of construction in town, we weren't collecting any funds at all. So the city has leveraged some of these funds in the past. When we got the water and sewer bonds, we combined some of that funding with some of the impact fee funding to do some of the bigger projects to get stuff out to the freeway, and that's allowed us to have some of our economic development out there. But right now, we're kind of in a collection mode so that we can move on to the projects that we want to get done. And those projects are all listed in the AB 1600 document that we went through last January. So I'm open for questions.
Yeah, the real void that I'd just like to point out with our impact fees is I kind of explained to the council and I'll explain to the public. We basically had 12 years of zero growth in winters, 12 years over a 10 year. In 10 years, we built 11 single-family homes. And our impact fees, realize that we don't have a very robust commercial or industrial construction in town. We were getting tiny little one-offs on various things. So, the reason why this is coming to you now is that we've really had about 4 years of what I would best describe as have a moderate growth. We've been doing somewhere between 50 and 70 residential units over the past couple of years, and that kind of facilitates this. One of the issues that we run into, though, is that compared to a lot of other communities, we still are not generating very much money. So the one thing that a project for us costs the same that it does for the city of Vacaville. So as we look at these various funds, Shelley's right. You look in there and you think, well, gosh, there's a couple $100,000. A perspective is just that parking lot across the street cost us almost $300,000. It's nothing. That doesn't. The idea of widening the street, the roundabout costs us $2.5 million. At the rate that we collect a lot of our impact fees, it takes a long time.
The West Main and Grant signal cost over $1 million to get. So that's a perspective on, right now we've got $137,000 in street impact fees. We just wrapped up in 2018, we just spent the last of over $1 million to get the street light in. So it takes us a while to collect these funds, but we do have projects lined up, and as soon as we get the funding to do those projects, we move forward on them.
Questions? I just think it's good to see this report and to see, the money that's come in from development, paid on these impact fees over the years and where they've been, and gives a good, shows people in the community where this money's going. We have a lot of times we have agenda items that come before us and we say, where's that money coming from? Coming from the impact fees that we collected in the past. So it's good to see an accounting of this and the list of the projects that you have on there saying, this is what this fund is intended to go for when we have enough money to do the project. And it's good to see those things here. So there is a lot of information, like you said, so thank you for putting this together. Appreciate it. I know our next agenda item, we have, talk about a lot of these projects coming up. So if there's no questions. Move on to, yeah. Yeah, is there anyone in the public that has any questions, comments on this? Okay. Okay, discussion item number 2 is the City of Winters current projects list.
Mayor and Council, what I'd like to do tonight, this is really organization-wide. One of the things I like to kind of emphasize with a lot of folks is that we're a pretty multifaceted business. We're in the business of where people live. And with that, that facilitates literally projects in every area that we're working on. I thought I'd kind of go over some of the things as we enter 2020. If you look at really our, what I'll call our high levels of focus, there are 12 main areas that are covered within our city organization. I put things like succession planning, which is very much an internal exercise. We will see the retirement of 3 key positions within the organization, which will see, literally decades of experience walking right out the door. Things regarding regulatory compliance, planning, building, and water and wastewater. Water, wastewater, and regulatory, as I put those up, will represent huge areas of interest for us because in some cases, they potentially could result in hundreds of dollars of cost to our residents every single month. Not a year, every single month in dealing with them. Hexavalent chromium, the MCL on that is coming back. I serve as part of the team that has been working with the State Water Resources Control Board, board members, their staff, people with the Division of Drinking Water with the state of California. TCB 123, one major issue about the agriculture around us is the amount of groundwater contamination that ag puts in. In this case, they have come up with a new MCL similar to what they're talking about with Chrome 6 for TCB 123, which is basically a combination of the fertilizers and the waste byproducts of having the ag in the area. On the slide, I put the potentially significant areas. The third one, the council approved a little over a year ago a contract with Wallace & Cool. One of the issues that's come up has to do with our closed landfill. That project is one that will literally knock us out. Probably, we estimate that it would be somewhere in the ballpark of about $1.5 million to put another cap on top of that landfill if they come up with the requirement on that. Last year, we bought about 3 years, but we know that we're going to have to go back to Rancho Cordova and meet with the regional quality control board regulators, see where that's going to go. We'll kind of be in meeting planning. I think 2020 will probably be the year of planning in Winters. We've got about a $400,000 program on January 21st. The council and the planning commission will have a joint workshop on one topic, and that's the idea of community outreach. And staff's been working to try and bring not necessarily a package, but a resources. On the 21st, we want to talk about the idea of how to do a very robust and constructive outreach to talk about things. We have our SB2 projects that are out there. We have our housing element. We just started our advertisement on the Climate Action Plan Development Board. Chris is here tonight. He got the ad out yesterday, I think, at least on social media. Probably the best comment that was on there was from Kate Laddish, so give it up for Kate. We'll do some, we'll put together the formation of some things for a city limits specific plan. We will also be looking at things regarding accessory dwelling units, other state mandates that are coming down.
In financial management, realized that we are going to step into putting together, we do 2-year budgets. So 2021, 21, 22 budgets are coming up. One of the biggies will be water and sewer rate studies. Council loves that. We'll have that study come down. Our AB 1600 impact fees with a lot of the state legislation on housing. They're targeting how and why cities charge impact fees. Tonight, you got a little bit of information about what we have in those funds, but I guarantee when the state looks at barriers to affordable housing and housing in the state, the first thing that they'll do is they'll chip the cities in the amount of impact fees that we're charging. We're also going to be looking at ways to enhance maybe electronic payment for our residents, things on Airbnb, and doing audits on that. There are services out there that do those types of things. And today we're at the Fairfield Inn groundbreaking, but we're going to be dialing in the collection of transient occupancy tax. Public safety is going to be a major area of emphasis. And one of the most impressive things that both of the chiefs have been doing is they've been very strategic about working on the overall fundamentals of how we do our police work, how we do our fire work. Both are going to be doing quite a bit. I sit on the board for our 911 agency, the old communications agency, YECA. We literally spend millions of dollars upgrading what they call the CAD system. Basically, it's a giant database system that collects voice and other types of data that go into it. Both fire and police are updating what they call the records management system. We live in a very data-driven world. You'll see a lot of technology coming into both areas of public safety. I'd like to emphasize 2 key areas with public safety that are big time issues for us. The first has to do with police. Didn't get a lot of press, as much play as I wish it would have. But over the summer, Winters PD and the Yellow DA got the conviction, a 95-year conviction of somebody that was basically raping children in our community. And over the years, Chief Miller and the team have worked. We have our school resources officer, no doubt. Kids, schools, very important in our community. But the chief actually split that position and put a higher emphasis on investigation, which small policing agencies, you know what? The investigation of things and piecing together issues just isn't there. Just on a couple of pieces of information, we got a 95-year conviction on somebody over the course of a number of years. And it's something that we have to keep up with. Yep, we're a small town, got it. But you know what? This type of stuff, and in that case, the victims were lower income folks, that those things need to be carried up on. And our ability to come up with the resources to have investigation and following up is absolutely critical. Our volunteer recruitment, we are going through a number of issues. Staffing is important. I can tell you that volunteers are down, and the ability for us to recruit those folks has hit a critical level. There are some times where we are just spending overtime getting our paid staff in so that we have at least 2 people on the engine. That's important. And trying to work how we are going to be able to provide these services is just boiling up. They're very expensive. It does not come cheap. So as we look to try and figure out how to do these things, I can assure you they're going to be a major emphasis. In the projects list, I've included what I call the regional projects, but in so many ways, That's the city council. There, the city council and some of us on staff, we represent the city of Winters on over 20 different regional agencies, boards, commissions. And I try and emphasize to folks, the council hears, and I'll tell the public, if anybody thinks being on the city council is showing up for 2 Tuesdays a month, one of the things that the council dramatically understates before every single council meeting is the amount of time that's in. And I can tell you in California, the council is gonna be buckling down. You're gonna earn every bit of that, $150 a month or whatever we pay you. What are they gonna be dealing with? The biggest issues: climate, housing, homelessness, animal services, 911, rural issues, many rural issues, transportation, energy, habitat, all things that are boiling up. I know that, the leadership that we've gotten from our council, the thing that's such a kicker, we may be the smallest city in Yolo County, but we have one person who's the chair of our habitat agency, and we've got at least one council member who sits on 4 major state policy bodies. This morning when I picked up 2 magazines, it was like, here are these big time magazines, the statewide magazine from the League of California Cities. And there's pictures of council member Lauren, there's our former mayor Cecilia in there. Then I pull up this magazine, there's John and Melanie Pickerel in the thing. It's like, what the heck? Honestly, I thought it was a setup for a minute. They'll be punking me on this. So anyway, lots of things. And I can assure you, it's going to be very busy. The amount of activity that you can anticipate, the governor's going to release his budget coming up, his preliminary budget or whatever they call it. Get ready, because it's going to be very busy. The building division, probably the 2 biggest things that we've got going right now from a commercial standpoint will be the Fairfield Inn and also the Blue Mountain Terrace apartments. But also we should probably see a pretty consistent role on a lot of our residential stuff. One of the things that we'll be rolling out in 2020 will be looking at seismic retrofitting. It's something that's been out there. We have to address it. We have to bring in some alternatives on things. We'll also be putting in a building permit software. Engineering, it's going to be subdivision improvements all day, all the time. I've listed most of the major projects up there, but probably one of the ones that's kind of sitting down there is some of our master plan review: water, sewer, wastewater treatment facility, flood overlay. All those things are coming up, and I know we've given the council all iPads, but it's going to use up all your memory when you get over all those things. Capital projects that are going to be coming down the pipe. So we had the AB 1600 presentation, and probably the biggest benefactor of that whole exercise is the Public Works Department, because I think Shelby got beat up on at least one of the funds, so there's going to be some money that people are going to have to spend on at least one project in wastewater. So stay away from Shelly when that project comes down. Capital projects, 3 Oaks Park. That's the first 2 phases of the Linear Park project. The Senior Center, which is grant funding enabled. Dan McGuire's not here, but he can't retire until that is submitted. Our wastewater treatment facility is probably going to get some of Shelly's money down Paseo Park. Finishing the extension through on the Pit Creek North Bank Trail and the City Hall accessibility remodel. And the 2 big construction projects in town that people will see will be both Blue Mountain Terrace and Fairfield Inn. I just kind of put the housing and subdivision projects up there. Most of them are continuing. We have both entitled stuff that's out there. At least the LDS project walked out the door tonight. Probably the one project that I'd really like to highlight here hasn't been up on the board, that is going to be on the board, will be a discussion with NeighborWorks out of Sacramento. We knew them as rural development housing in the past. Some of the same people. They built basically what I would describe as East Winters. Now Redbud Lane, those homes. They have a proposal. It's been before the Affordable Housing Steering Committee, but I can see bringing that thing in. The best news, just in some preliminary discussions, they had some ideas. The site has a density requirement, and our watchdog on everything is legal services. And in the meeting, I kind of had a cow about they wanted to put 30 units, and it was like, no, we're not doing that. And the good news is legal services seems to be on board. So Dan and I, before he leaves, we're going to at least prime the pump on that project. And then just to finalize a couple of things, I know some things just aren't real exciting, but they're exciting to some of us that work here. The fiscal year budgets that are coming up, everybody gets really excited about that. Some things are happening in town. We've had some development. Realize that none of the houses that go in hit our tax rolls for about 2 years. We are in it. I mean, sincerely, it's the tightest fiscal environment that I've ever worked at in my career. Shelley and I, everybody wonders why some of us are doing everything. Things are tight. They just are. Things are really expensive out there. So as we go into the next fiscal year budgets, we're going to have to really bear down our succession planning with key people walking out the door. Every day there's denial that's happening. We've got the recruitments for the folks. We have 2 systems that are going into play. One is our NeoGov Human Resources software, which I know nobody's excited about it. We're kind of excited about it. Our InterGov building permitting software is going to be launched. It will create new horizons for everybody, and Gene's going to have to shave his beard or something when we finally get the thing in play. But it'll allow
I'm not sure about that.
the council approved actually a pretty significant add-on onto it, which would allow for remote permitting. So we're going to be doing that, but it'll bring a new dimension of things. And then finally, training. One of the things that I would, I'd like to get any input from the council regarding any of this right now. But a lot of this is going to start wrapping in. Shelley and I are going to start working, we've already started working on the budget. We will have some pretty extensive workshops on some things, because I think probably as we move forward with the upcoming budgets, there's going to be some decision making, and at least for the first fiscal year, I think it's going to be pretty tough. So with that, I'll stop talking and I'll take any questions from the council.
Questions from the council?
Last one, I'm curious where the NeighborWorks housing project would be. Where's that?
Well, at least a couple of council members are on the Affordable Housing Steering Committee. It's the 2-acre parcel in the Stones Throw subdivision. It's right here.
Okay.
It's this is Moody Slough Road, and it's the 2-acre piece right there.
Questions?
Not really a question, just a comment. I realized that we really didn't build any houses between 2004 and 2000, or 2004, 5, and 2016. And I think that many of us got used to parking wherever we want and having all kinds of room because it was the same for so long. And it just, stuff is happening downtown and there's, new vitality and new businesses and it feels a little bit different. And I realized that there are all those houses that are coming in, maybe 60 or 70 at a time. They could have come in during those 11 years and they didn't, and they're coming in now. And still, even with those houses coming in, California lost about 10 years of its housing production with the Camp Fire and the other fires. And so housing is a big deal. And I think that I feel like it's such a great time to be on council to dovetail the needs of with climate change and the climate action plan with the needs of housing so that we can be really thoughtful and we can plan for 2020 and 2030 and 2040 and 2050 with the future in mind so that we're not really using just the policies from like the 1950s in our design, although that's I think we all like the single family homes. And so I just wanted to comment on that. And then the other thing I wanted to comment on is that we have this beautiful kind of railroad town downtown. And I think that as a rural city, there's probably about 30% of the cities in California that are also rural that have these little downtown railroad towns that have businesses down at the bottom, but not enough money to earthquake retrofit and grow into the top. When I was driving down the street today downtown and I looked at Pew Creek Cafe and I looked at those windows and, they're all painted on boards. That's all useful space that could be, used for either housing or it could be used for economic development. And if we could just get the money to earthquake retrofit. So I'm really excited that we can rise to these challenges to make the best of the city that we already have. And I know it's going to take a lot of work, and I just think it's really exciting that we're all going to work on it together.
Comments, Joe? I would just like to say, you went through this list pretty fast. There are a lot of big ticket items on here. Things dealing with replacing, staff that we're having here that are retiring. There's just so many, the Chrome 6 issues, the landfill, the fire and police, the public safety facility out there, getting people in there. Like I said, you kind of glossed over each thing. And I know we've talked about all these things, but I don't know how much the community realizes how big these projects really are. And every one of these things that you've listed takes money to do it. And for us to be able to come up with money, to finance these various capital projects, to keep our staff here and to keep our public safe, it all takes money. So, like I say, just reading through this, it's very overwhelming, to me, knowing how much goes into every one of these projects. So, our biggest challenge, I think, will be figuring out how to pay for all this stuff. And I know we do have some economic development going on, but we need to work on spurring more of that economic development, bringing some jobs back into the Winters area. Fairfield Inn will bring some jobs out there, some of the things like that we'll be hiring. Hopefully some local people and people that can stay in town and not have to drive out of town to work will dovetail with the climate action plan that we're working on. So there's a lot of big things there. Thank you for your time putting this together.
Yeah, and I'm going to publish the projects list. I'm trying to work with the system on how we'll keep it updated, but literally we'll put our what we call the active projects list just front and center and everything. The thing that's so tough about putting stuff on your website now is that there are people that are grabbing data and probably one of the biggest problems I have is going through my email every day. I get well over 100 emails every single day, and they grab the, I think it took me like 3 years to shake everybody that thought that we were building the hotel across the street. And everybody wanted to sell me furniture, so we'll figure out how to put the stuff up there and we'll get it going.
Any questions for the captain? Yeah, just one comment, and I talked to John about this morning when we met. I think there are a lot of things here that John has listed, especially at the beginning of the list where whose assignment is, if it's John's and it's John's and it's John's. And I think that I pointed out that there are people that would help. It doesn't have to be all you're doing, and I think you should reach out and let us know what we can do, because we get paid a lot, and
Does it cover your gas bill?
and we have nothing else to do. Yeah.
And I think one of the other things to realize is a lot of these things that we have to do are mandated by the state. And they don't come along with any funding to do it. We have to figure out how to do it on our small town budget. So those are really big tasks that we have to work on completing. So it's gonna take a lot of work. And I agree with Councilmember New that reaching out, we may have to call on some of those people to come in and help us and figure out how to do all these things, but it's a big job. Thank you. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak to this tonight? Yes, Ms. Laddish. Please come forward.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year's, everybody. Kate Laddish, 400 Morgan Street, number 21. And I'd like to start by thanking our Civic Park fellow, Christopher Flores, for all of his work on the Climate Action Plan Development Board and getting that ready. It's, as I emailed him just earlier this evening, it's been a really big project, and I really appreciate what he's doing. And since that was listed in here, I decided that counted enough for this being an agenda item. I can tell him thank you very publicly. So thank you for all the work he's done on that thus far. And with the joint workshop on the 21st, there'll be, I've seen more details forthcoming about the format of that. Okay, great. And that's it's a workshop about doing
Community outreach.
community
We're not
outreach.
gonna talk about anything except
Doing community outreach. All right. And there'll be community outreach to do the community outreach. Right. That's my kind of
we're gonna
thing.
do a
So,
horrible job. There's only gonna be 3 people show up. And then we'll go.
sign me up. I'm totally there. Right, community outreach sounds great. All right, and then as we do that community outreach and all the other types of community outreach that we've talked about doing, just circling back to Councilmember Lauren's point, and I'm going to paraphrase to make sure that I understood correctly, that it sounds like part of what you're saying is that we consider, given the loss of housing that California has experienced and the growing population and the need for housing, that we not use the what may be outdated plans that we have in place, but we discuss them, and that we also consider different styles of housing, not just single family suburban type housing. Is that?
Yeah, I think that we have to. I think the state will make us.
Okay.
And if you just look at ADUs, what happened, what recently passed from the beginning of the year is that basically anybody's house could have an accessory dwelling unit and a junior accessory dwelling unit. And you don't have to, I believe you don't, and Jean can correct me on this, but I believe if you convert like a garage, you don't have to build a new garage. So basically any single family dwelling can now become almost a triplex. So there's processes in place to encourage changing in the housing market by homeowners themselves and then in city planning. So yeah, I think if we use direction of climate change and climate action, greenhouse gases, and creation of heat and streets and all the other transportation, all the other things that influence greenhouse gases, I think that we could do some really smart planning for Winter's future.
Okay, great. So I just before I said, wow, I think this sounds great, I just want to make sure I understood correctly that what And so with looking at that, and it's accepting your questions for the city manager, is with that, with the community engagement projects that would be coming up, that's the sort of discussion that we could be having with the SB2? That's what I'm saying, that's something that's a discussion that could happen within that.
In SBU, everybody's gonna become experts in ADUs and in various levels of density. I think probably the city limits specific plan process that we'll go through is gonna do a lot of this. The putting together the climate action plan will do that. We've already got a good base foundation of some documents. But we're gonna spend almost $400,000 on planning over about, I'd say, a 20-month period, is what the calendar says.
And in terms of just upcoming projects, is the SB2 grant application, have we heard back in an official way about that, or are we, basically, is the city limits specific plan, is that a current project, or is that a?
So on New Year's Eve, I got a response from ACD saying that they got our application that I had sent on 2 days before Thanksgiving. So I was jacked at that. It was great. But no, they're going to go through it. We were able to check the boxes in the applications as that we did the priority policy areas. I think we're going to get there on this stuff. They had consultants who were helping you put together everything, and the one gal, Jenny, that I talked to about 5 times, and she seemed very knowledgeable, and she was the leader of everything. If they don't accept it, it's their fault.
There's a Winters resident who works on the state, and who would be happy to talk with the city, and was delighted that the city had applied. Right, thank you for everybody who's doing all of these different projects.
Thank you. I think, Ms. Loud, did you put your hand up earlier?
I did. Thank you, Mayor. You know who I am. You know my joke, 2020 vision. I might be the only citizen that looked at the treasurer's report. And we see all these new housing, and we say, oh, wow, we're getting these property taxes. But we won't be getting that money for 2 years, right? I think this is part of our outreach, that we need to let our citizens know that we're seeing all this wonderful growth, but it's 2 years down the line. And a lot of people do not like to look at treasurer's report. A lot of people don't like to look at budgets, but it's important. It's so important for our city. I happen to like it. That's it. No, I don't want to be on the committee.
I can see you clearly on a committee.
I can see you clearly too, Bill.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else in the public who would like to speak tonight? No? Any other comments from the council? Okay. All right. Last, we will have the city manager report.
Just 2 things really quickly. First, today's Fairfield Inn. I had somebody involved in all the financing. Actually, there were 2 financial people that were there, and one of them walked up, and Shelley should have gotten at least a Christmas present from this guy. All the stuff that she sent to him. But he walked up and he said what was just magic. He goes, hey, we're really excited about this project. He goes, do you guys have any assisted living? He goes, we're really into that. And I was just like, oh my God, manna from heaven. So that was the good takeaway from the groundbreaking out there. So first he said that he was looking to do some financing, so I offered him coffee. And then when he said assisted living, I offered him lunch. So, we'll give him his,
We also, the contractor that we met out there said he's done a project recently dealing with a care facility for people with memory issues and that type of thing. So it kind of fits right in.
Yeah. It's really good. And then the second thing I have for the council, one of the things, my performance evaluation is at a point where I'm going to send a thing out to the council where we need to sit down and work on some council goal setting for the city manager on some things. So I'm going to send something out for everybody's calendar to take a look at, and we can schedule that.
Thank you. Okay, on that, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:30. Happy New Year, everyone.
It's like that video. Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah, that might not be so good.
She wasn't even on the stability ball when I threw that thing.
That worked out.
You're gonna take it from it being a harassment issue. I'm gonna take it from the thing that it was a performance issue.
That's right, you can't kick it. That's all it
Yes, you will.
Alright, so you have the rest of the week? Happy New Year to all of you.
Yeah, exactly. Hold up there.
Yes.
Feels like winter.
Yeah,